head coach of Purdue football, is on the phone line right now. Jeff Brohm here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Coach Brohm?
Good afternoon. I tell you what, listen to that. I wish it was still Saturday night.
Right. I mean, what was it like for you, Coach? What was it like?
Well, no, without question, it was about as meaningful day as you can get. Just a lot of things that were accomplished. You couldn't be happier or prouder of your team, university, the community, and just everything went right. And just a lot of things came into play. But at the end of the day, boy, it was a night to remember for our football team and university, and it's something that we'll cherish around here a long time.
When was a moment in the game where you thought to yourself, despite the confidence that you had and the scheme that you were bringing in and the concepts that you had downloaded to your team, that you thought that this might actually be the chance you could beat Ohio State on that night, Coach?
Well, we had a chance to kick a field goal at the end of the half and go up by a touchdown, and we decided to go for the fake and see what happened, and we got the first down. We scored the next play. I knew then that was a little bit of a dagger that going into halftime could give us some momentum. And obviously I wasn't for sure from then because this team can come back from anything. But I tell you what, every time they kind of made a run, we were aggressive in our approach. And we hit a couple big runs for touchdowns. And then we hit a big pass play to Rondale Moore. We broke some tackles. And then I was pretty convinced it was going to happen. Then we made the interception at the end. So a lot of great things continue to happen in the second half, and it was a great feeling and something that, like I said, we'll cherish.
What was the first time you laid eyes on Rondale Moore? Where was that?
Well, you know what? I was lucky that he attended the high school I went to. My father is a volunteer assistant coach on the football team that has told me about him for a long time. So I knew about him. You know how it works. All those connections help.
Sure.
Now, this man was highly recruited, had a bunch of options, and we just kind of sold him on what we could do for him. And while he had great opportunities elsewhere, and deservedly so, we knew what we could do for him. He could be a difference maker. We could build the offense around him. We could, in our opinion, guarantee that he was the center of our offense. And I think as he got thinking about things, in the end, he started to trust us, some of the others, and what he was hearing. And luckily for us, we won him over. And from day one, he's been a difference maker and a huge plus for our team.
Yeah, he jumped off the screen, Coach. He jumped off the screen when I had not seen him play before. I'll be very honest. It was the first time I laid eyes on him, and I'm like, wow, this kid's special. You could tell.
Well, and he is. He's a guy who came in here from day one of practice. He's actually shown that on the field. Doesn't miss a rep. Goes as hard as anybody on our team. We have monitors that measure how hard some of our skill guys go, and he's off the charts higher than anyone else on the team practice. To translate to the field, game day for a young freshman. The guy's staying at the first game. Northwestern, he breaks all kinds of records, and then we're like, holy cow, this guy's got it. He's got the it factor. He loves football. He's humble. He hands the ball to the referee when he's been in the end zone because he's been in there so much, and his teammates really respect him. So I think this guy's a star, and we're lucky to have him. And he's the guy that we're going to continue to utilize, and obviously we don't want to utilize him too much and get him in before he can handle a lot.
Jeff Brohm, Purdue head coach, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. And it also had a very special feel to the night. And again, I say this with the utmost respect for Ohio State, but it just watching the broadcast, I mean, the ABC crew, the ESPN and ABC crew were featuring Tyler Trent throughout. And this is the young man who had to drop out of school as he's fighting cancer. And he predicted you guys would beat Ohio State. And he was part of the broadcast, and I do believe, as we saw, he went into the locker room and was part of the post-game celebration. I wonder if you can walk us through how you included him in your plans.
Well, the short of the story is I met him about a year ago. He's camped out before a Michigan game the night before. I was just walking down to get a bite to eat, and there he was. Went over and said hello to him. Never really told me a story then, but he was going through cancer treatments. You couldn't really tell for sure how far along that was, but you knew he was going through something, but never used that as a crutch. Had a great attitude, great smile. We kind of kept in contact. He was a big part of doing some cancer research around here, so we ran into each other. And really wasn't until right after the Nebraska game, we went down there a couple of weeks ago to play, that I found out it had taken a real turn for the worse. I mentioned at our press conference just some thoughts and prayers out to him. And then on the flight home, I saw some pictures, and it did not look good. And I was hearing even worse. So we decided to send our captains up there the next day, give them the game ball just to kind of let them know we're thinking about them and praying for them and hoping for the best. And as much as it touched him, our players got as much out of it in return. It was a meaningful moment for him. And then really from there, it just kind of grew into more. I went and saw him about a few days later. And for a guy that was going through a lot, he actually, every time I see him, he looks tremendous. And then he made the prediction, and he wanted to come to the game. And it was about 2 weeks off, and we, to be honest with you, didn't know if he would make it that long. And all of a sudden, he's able to show up, and he looked great again. I mean, as far as the smile, has great spirits, does everything positive, great energy. So we wanted him to be a part of it. And, brought him in the locker room, let him talk, our players. And now he became not only an inspiration to our team, but our university, the community, now the nation. And I really feel like as much as we've gotten out of it, which we have a ton, because it does put things in perspective, I think the whole nation, all the love they've shown him, he's grown stronger. And hopefully it makes him stay with us a little bit longer. But it truly is a great story.
It is. And hopefully it has a happy ending, and hopefully it is something that he just gets back on campus, he gets well. And we hope that, again, a night like Saturday night is some wind beneath those wings right there. As for your team, what do you now you got Michigan State, and how tough-nosed a football team this is. I mean, how do you keep this going, Coach?
Well, that's the challenge, and like every great thing that happens, you got to respond. And I'm not going to lie, I wish this game was the last one of the year and we could enjoy it. But there's a lot of work to be done. And the great thing that we've tried to do always, whether we is make it a one, do our best, come back and play the next game as good as we can. Fortunately for us, we actually started 0-3 and had a loss at home to Eastern Michigan, so it just goes to show you how bad we can. All of a sudden we beat Ohio State at home the same year, so it shows you that we can play well. So we've got to continue to put in the preparation. Ohio State lost to Iowa last year. 2 weeks later, we went into Iowa at 4-6, and we found a way to beat Iowa. So it happened to them. I think you saw Syracuse last year beat Clemson, who was number 2 in the country. They were sky high, and then after that game, Syracuse lost 5 in a row. So, it easily can happen. We definitely haven't arrived by any means now. We have a lot of work to do, and this Michigan State team is really good. It's at their place, and we will have more than our hands full.
Well, look, I know that you know what you're doing, and you don't need any 2 cents from any outside observers like myself. But one tip is make sure you find out if they've done their arm-in-arm walkthrough from one end of the field to the other before you send your kids out there to warm up. Be careful, because they might show up a little late.
Well, I've heard that, and obviously we want to make sure we adhere to their wishes,
okay,
and hopefully everything works out.
Okay. I just don't want to get you any trouble, but just that these things may happen. These may happen.
No,
although
I saw it as well. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Although you are the only coach in the Big Ten, if maybe not all of college football, that has spent time in the XFL. So I don't know if you saw any of those movements in the XFL back in the day for the Orlando Rage, Coach Brohm.
Well, that was a long time ago, and I'm not going to lie. I coached some football and played some, and it might have been the most fun I ever had playing, so I did have a good time.
Is that right?
It was a lot of fun, without question, so I'm not going to lie to you on that.
What was fun about it?
Well, it was kind of put in to be a fun man came in, and we had cameras on the field in the locker room, and we've had a game in the Citrus Bowl, our first game, and there have been a lot of events in history there. And the first game, they said they had sold more alcohol by halftime than any event ever in that venue. So it was a rowdy, wild crowd, and there was a lot of sights you saw in the stands, and it was just a lot of fun. I'm not going to lie.
What was it like, though, you in the NFL, Coach Brohm? You were the third-string quarterback, if I'm not mistaken, on the Stan Humphries led San Diego Chargers Super Bowl team, correct? Were you there?
Well, yes, I was.
Okay.
The NFL, of course, was a lot of fun as well. Now, there I was kind of a perennial backup, just trying to make the team every year,
right,
trying to survive and enjoying the moment. And, once you made the team, it was great because you made a lot of money, and as a backup, you don't do a whole lot. So there were a lot of pluses, and I enjoyed it. But every year, it was about just trying to make the team, but a lot of great players, a lot of great coaches, and I was fortunate enough to play on a lot of great teams. And even though I wasn't in the game a whole lot, it was a lot of fun.
No, I know, but being there for that experience, what was it like being around Junior Seau? I'm curious to know.
Well, no, it was remarkable. He was a tremendous player. And I still remember my first play in practice one time. I saw Stan Humphries make a play action, faked it to the tailback. Junior Seau came up to the line of scrimmage and was there for the run. Stan playing his back foot. He threw a 20-yard in cut to the receiver, and Junior had already turned around, got back, caught the pass, intercepted, and I said, I've never seen that before in my life.
Yeah.
This guy's unbelievable. So a lot of great players.
Yeah, I covered Bo Schembechler's last season at the Michigan Daily, Coach, and Michigan made the Rose Bowl that year, and Junior Seau was on that USC team. I honestly thought there were two 55s. I really thought.
There was. I mean, he kind of did his own thing. He played fast. He blitzed. He was all over the place. It was remarkable to watch. Coach,
thanks for the time here. Congrats on the win on Saturday, and good luck down the road. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks for having me, Rich.
You got it. That's Jeff Brohm, former Orlando Rage quarterback.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.